Okay, here we go again. Another talk. Connection of Boscovich to AATIP. So, for example, there's articles like this coming out now in space.com. It talks about UFOs, left radiation burns, and unaccounted for pregnancies. New Pentagon report claims. And it will tell you in the article, encounters of UFOs have reportedly left Americans suffering from radiation burns, brain and nervous system damage, and even unaccounted for pregnancy. According to a massive database of US government reports recently made public through a Freedom of Information Act request. The database of documents includes more than 1,500 pages of UFO-related material from the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. ATIP. It was a secretive US government, US Department of Defense program that ran from 2007 to 2012. Despite never being classified as secret or top secret, the ATIP only became known to the public in 2017. And Wikipedia has an article on ATIP. And for the further reading given by Wikipedia for ATIP, it has all these different articles. Picking just one of them by Harold Puthoff. It's called Advanced Space Propulsion Based on Vacuum Spacetime Metric Engineering. And this is the article which you can go to. It's the Defense Intelligence Reference Document, Advanced Space Propulsion Based on Vacuum Spacetime Metric Engineering. Gives the author as Puthoff, and he's a PhD at the Earth Tech International Incorporated. And Wikipedia has a page for Puthoff, and it says he's an American parapsychologist and engineer. In the 2010s, he co-founded the company To the Stars with Tom DeLonge. This is a picture of Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff. This article is Fusion Facts. It's a monthly newsletter providing factual reports on cold fusion developments. And this is a volume 5, number 8, and it deals with Puthoff. And here's what it says about the work of Dr. Harold Puthoff. Experimental data available to Puthoff led him to believe that there was energetic ether and it could be tapped. By basing his theoretical physics carefully on the previous peer-reviewed literature, some of which brought Nobel Prize nominations to his older fellow scientist, Puthoff has developed a carefully constructed peer-reviewed basis for space energy. Here is the chronological history of his most important publications. In a peer-reviewed paper published in May 1987, Puthoff extended the concept of an energetic space to explain that the ground state of the hydrogen atom, the lowest energy level of the electron orbiting the hydrogen nuclei, was dynamic. A dynamic equilibrium between the energy emitted by the orbiting electron and energy received from 0-point fluctuations of the background vacuum electromagnetic field. The theory explains the paradox of how an electron can emit energy while circulating around the atomic nuclei and yet not spiral into the nucleus, a major unresolved difficulty with the Bohr model of the atom. The highly successful equations of quantum dynamics predict an energetic space, virtual or real. In addition to work in harmony with quantum dynamics, Puthoff accomplished the stochastic electrodynamics had been used to help in solving some of the equations or expressions of quantum mechanics. And the idea of a stable orbit of electrons around nuclei, that is part of Boscovich's theory. And this is Roger Boscovich, who has a page in Wikipedia. He's an 18th century person interested in science, and it says here he produced a precursor of atomic theory, and that's often mentioned in connection with unified field theory. So this is the curve which Boscovich has for forces. What happens is a force can flip between being repulsive and attractive, according to this wiggly line. And that is between particles. And the particles it happens for is it has a hierarchy starting with molecules and ascending down to atoms and then down to more elementary points. So this is looking at the curve in more detail, and based upon this curve, the electron under forces of attraction and repulsion towards the nucleus would find an orbit where those forces were balanced, i.e. there would be allowed and forbidden orbits. And this has led to quantum mechanics via what Boscovich was saying in the 18th century, picked up by people later. So Puthoff is dealing with things in terms of energy, electrons around a nucleus emitting and absorbing electromagnetic energy, and there are orbits where these things are balanced, while Boscovich is dealing it in terms of forces, and there are orbits where the forces are balanced. And it's no surprise really, because Boscovich was dealing with unified field theory, same as Puthoff, and they're often cited together as per the next example. And this is a paper called A Post-Newtonian View into the Logos of Bios. And quoting from that paper is highlighted Boscovich when it talks about a question that initiated the quest of a unifying field theory. It mentions Boscovich as being involved in that, and it also mentions Maxwell, Tesla and other people, and of course Puthoff is mentioned. If you will note that Boscovich is the earliest one mentioned for dealing with a unifying field theory, so it basically seems to start with him. And it also mentions Puthoff, as I already mentioned. So this is another place where these people are linked. You have this tradition of a unified field theory, So the physics of all this, of course, gets very weird, and mainstream usually prefers to just keep sweeping weird things under the carpet whenever possible. It does, however, leak out a bit into the public domain when I accidentally stumbled upon this tabloid newspaper. This tabloid newspaper are not usually supposed to be taken too seriously, but this particular newspaper, it dealt with the weird physics of AATIP, and it talks about it in terms of the science fiction film Back to the Future, and starts wondering about time travel. So how this weird UFO type physics is presented to the public is as entertainment, and when it's presented that way, people can suddenly decide not to take it too seriously. And this is further on from what the article is saying. Secret files show time travel may be possible, and that's what the AATIP physics articles were about. Finished. That's it. Thank you. So that's what AATIP's about. You got weird physics. You got people with Tesla, Puthoff, and Boscovich, and they're all involved in this weird UFO type of physics. And UFOs are now normally referred to as UAPs, just to make things more confusing. Thank you.